I'd like to show you some highlights from all three games of round 6 in the Biel Grandmaster tournament, picking up particularly on moments that were mentioned in the video report. So let's start with the game Radoslav Wojtaszek against Alexander Motilev. And so after move 23, White has just played the rook over to a1, and you can see that these rooks look very powerfully placed on the open A file. White has the two bishops, and well, although this one on e1 doesn't look particularly good, actually fulfills an important function of protecting this knight. The bishop on e2 is extremely dangerous, looking through at the pawn at b5. Black has a few problems here. Let me try to explain what's going on. First of all, let's see what happens if Black just plays a waiting move, g5. Then comes rook a8. Well, if Black's queen takes, then White is going to win material. So the knight threatens the bishop, the rook on c7 rather, and the bishop threatens the knight on c4. White wins material. And if the queen comes to b6, here's the trick. White takes on b5 and then exchanges here and plays rook c1, and these pins are rather difficult for Black. So basically White is going to win back the knight and is then a pawn up, should win. What about another move? Okay, what about rook d7? Now that means that after rook a8, well, actually the queen can take the rook, because then the rook would no longer be attacked on c7. But then White plays knight takes b5, a very nice tactic. So when the queen takes, then rook a8, so you can see the pressure is building on the knight on c4. And after rook here, we exchange, and we're back at the same position. All these horrible pins once again, and White wins back the knight. So this is Black's problem. Motilev thought for 20 minutes here and came up with a subtle solution to his problems. He played king h7. Now, what's the difference? Let's take a look. First of all, rook a8, that's the move that was played in the game. Black still can't take the rook. Motilev brought the queen up. Now, the move that White would like to play is to exchange here and then play knight takes b5. So it's exactly the same position as before, except the king stands on h7, and this makes a massive difference. Black now has a beautiful way out of his problems. Knight d2. Well, the first thing we note is that rook takes c8 is no longer check. So after rook c8, Black would play queen e2. And this is actually a winning position. Black has two minor pieces for the rook, and if bishop takes knight, then knight e4 is a great move. Black is going to crash through on f2 and recapture the bishop, winning position for Black. So what else after knight d2? There's bishop takes d2, but then Black exchanges and ends up a piece up. And we also have, yes, bishop takes b5. Now Black gives up his queen, but actually now has rook and two minor pieces against the queen, and also actually a deadly attack against White's king. Soon bishop d6 is coming, and winning position for Black. There we are. So that's the point of king h7, and in this position Wojtaszek could find nothing better than just to keep attacking the queen and repeat moves, and so the game ended in a draw. Great stuff from Motilev. Okay, next game is Pentala Hari Krishna against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. This was a wild night off variation, but MVL gained the upper hand and he won a piece in the melee. You can see this bishop is in the corner. It's mad. The queen also way across the other side of the board. So white's pieces are somewhat, well, yeah, split apart. They don't really coordinate very well. Black is a piece up, but white has 2 pawns for the piece. It's still not simple, and you can see there's a vague threat here. So understandably, MVL sort of cut the Gordian knot and exchange pieces. Well, it seems like a very sensible, practical solution. And after bishop takes d6, he recaptured with the queen, and after the game, well, as you probably saw in the video report, he was kicking himself. Okay, what happened in the game? Well, white exchanged queens and brought the bishop back. So black is still a piece up. But the problem is, when you have knights, they're not very good at controlling both sides of the board. And, well, let me just zip through a few moves very quickly. The problem is here, well, eventually white managed to exchange pawns and get his pawns rolling down the board. And, yeah, basically the knight has to try to travel across to the queen side to stop these pawns. And if black had a light squared bishop, for example, then I would say he should have a winning position. But with a knight, it just can't deal with both sides of the board at the same time. And, well, the game drifted towards a draw. But let's go back to this position after knight c4 and taking on d6. MVL said after the game, why on earth didn't I play knight takes d6? Let's have a quick look at the position. If queen takes knight, then obviously there is a problem on the back rank. It's mate. So that's not possible. So, okay, let's bring the bishop back to reality on f3. Now, normally if you're a piece ahead, you would want to simplify, but actually it's to black's advantage to have the queens on in this position because he still has some initiative. You can see that this pawn rather cramps white's king. So this ties white down to defense. Black's king is in no real danger. That's a tidy move, just protecting these pieces. And, you know, he can start to play knight c4. And that one hassles white's king, but also perhaps threatens to spin back here. Black has the initiative. And, well, you can also see there are moves like queen takes h2 in the air as well. So with the initiative and an extra piece, black should win that one. So, yeah, MVL was kicking himself after the game. He really should have put that one away. Okay, let's look at the third game, which is Anish Giri against Ho Ifan. Giri had a nice opening. This is the position after move 27, and he looks like he's in good shape. He exchanged off knight for bishop and then pushed forward. You can see he has the bishop pair, very strong. And now he started to open up the position for the bishops. So just breaking down black's pawn chain here. Good idea. But we saw once again how steely the women's world champion is when she's on the defensive. She could have defended passively here. Well, knight c7 is not a bad move, but I think it's very interesting to see how she dealt with her difficulties. First of all, she played rook b4, so she's defending by tactical means. So obviously pawn takes pawn is not possible because of rook takes bishop, and rook takes pawn is threatened. So rook c1, defending the pawn here. So, well, here it's another interesting situation. She could have played rook c8, and this would lead to a long forcing sequence. You can see that now black is out of the pin here. So pawn takes pawn, rook takes. This is a very forcing variation. White is now a piece down, but rook c8 regains the piece. And the king must come over. Okay, that g3 defends the f4 pawn. Rook takes pawn. Now black has to restore material balance. But you can see, well, although all the pawns, white's pawns are on one side of the board, you know, black is rather passive here. And although objectively this might be a draw, this could be hard work. So it's interesting to see that she rejected that and just took a pawn, remaining very active. G3. Well, now this is a serious threat. And so rook c8 no longer works. It's a serious threat because white has now solved the back rank problems and secured this pawn chain. So that variation we looked at before is going to be very strong. And now this is an amazing move, g5. Giri said after the game that that this kind of encouraged him because suddenly, you know, it started to get complicated and tactical. But actually, you know, I'm really impressed by the way Ho Yifan defended here. Not scared at all. Okay, what happened? Well, sorry, g5. So you can see that there is still a pin here. White wants to take. So the bishop came back. And now knight c7. Defending d5. So they shuffled back and forth a few times and knight c7. And now Giri plunged in with f takes g5. But in taking this, it's given black time to escape from this pin. And the point of g5, of course, was to break up white's pawn chain, but also now black's king has an escape square, so there are no longer back rank problems. So this is a double-edged position. So very active defense from Ho Yifan. And now here, well, maybe Giri missed a chance. It's still extremely complicated. Maybe he should have played bishop h5. But you know, black is in with a shot here. You know, this is this is best play, and now there are threats to play rook f7, and maybe white has chances here, but it's complicated. Instead, in the game, Giri played bishop a7, and they shuffled back and forth a few times, repeating the position. But now black is over the worst. Still very active defense from Ho Yifan. And here, well, now bishop h5 came, but actually after f5, it's no longer a problem. After this exchange, basically there are too few pawns on the board, and the Chinese player successfully steered the game towards a draw. But brilliant defense, and she's showing that she's not overawed in this company, even though she's rated quite a bit below all the other 5 players in the tournament. So after 6 rounds, MVL still leads the tournament with a clear point advantage, and there are now only 4 rounds left to play. Sunday is a free day in Biel, but they resume hostilities on Monday.